This second part of this evening's program by David Hirzel will be a first-person interpretation, not an impersonation, of the Antarctic explorers Captain Robert F. Scott, Sir Ernest Shackleton, and the Irish sailor Tom Crean. These men all came to know each other well during the 15 years of the heroic era of Antarctic exploration, 1901 to 1916. Please enjoy meeting them and hearing their true stories of their adventures on the polar plateau.
Allow me to introduce myself. Robert Scott, Captain Robert Scott. We were bound to discover. And when I say a vast ice plain, I mean it is as the sea. It is as white and as level as the sea itself, but frozen solid ice. Seamen. And the three of us, we traveled, we walked overland, dragging our sledge behind us, and every night we went into the tent together. And all the boundaries of class and rank seemed to disappear. Because now I've mentioned, I'm sure you've heard of crevasses, these sudden cracks that open up, and sometimes you can see them and sometimes you can't, and sometimes you're walking along and down you go into the crevasse, and sometimes... Shackleton's the name, Ernest Shackleton. Perhaps you've heard of me. I want to be the one to plant the Union Jack on that mythical point where the world spins around all this earth. The mighty Beardmore Glacier. Imagine this, 20 miles wide and 120 miles long. This vast highway of broken ice, winding its way up and up and up and up. And up we went. We reached a point a little over 100 miles from the pole, and a blizzard came. Good. We got within 100 miles of the pole, within some magic circle that we could name, and we planted the Union Jack there. And later, after I got home, I wrote to my wife, Emily, and I said that I thought you would rather have a live donkey than a dead lion. And that's surely what it would have been had we gone on. I'm Tom Crean. Perhaps you've heard of me. So now Mr. Shackleton sends me a telegram, invites me to come along on his new expedition. Now, she was made to be frozen in. She was made to lift when the ice squeezed. She was made to pop out a certain number of times in a certain number of ways. And we went from Elephant Island near the tip of the Antarctic Peninsula and 800 miles that way across through the Drake Passage. And here comes a hurricane. I mean, the biggest storm I have ever seen in all my years at sea. Had that pin fallen out under the strength of the gale, the mast would have gone, the deck would have gone, and the boat would have gone. And all the 28 men, us 6 and the other 22 men on Elephant Island, all gone. Me, Tom Crean, Captain Worsley, Mr. Shackleton, we set out. We're going to cross this island or die trying. And we thought we were starting to get close to the whaling station, but we couldn't tell. And then we thought we heard in the distance the steam whistle. We were there. The man takes us to Mr. Sorley. And the door opens and he looks at us and he goes, "Who the hell are you?" And he says, "My name is Shackleton." And Mr. Sorley, weathered old beaten up whaling station manager, wept. Here again, the story is the same everywhere I go and every time I think of this. The story is the same. You can give up any time, but once you give up, all is over. And the lesson to always take, and no matter how dreadful everything looks, because in this case there was no way that we were going to get off of the ice and over to Elephant Island, and there was no way a single open boat was going to make that 800 miles across the ocean. And there is no way any 3 men had crossed this island that had never been crossed before and was generally held to be impossible to cross. You know, if we had looked at the facts, we would have given up when giving up was easy, but we didn't give up. So that's the message. I think that is the most important message to carry on from here, to carry through your life and in your heart wherever you go. So I thank you for giving me this opportunity to share it with you.